Hello and welcome to Brazil for the final round of the 2021 Formula Virtual World Championship. My name is Freddie Downton and I'm joined today by Robert Mappershaw.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Today then, the drivers will be tackling 53 laps of this famous Interlagos circuit. The circuit between the lakes is 4.3 kilometres in length and 15 turns. It was Nathaniel Powers who won here last season, and if he repeats that here today, he will be champion. Let's take a look at how the permutations are then. He is 22 points clear of teammate Klaas van Snelheid, so it looks fairly comprehensive. If Powers finishes in the top 8 or Klaas fails to win the race, he will be a 5-time champion. Alternatively, Klaas will win his first title in somewhat unbelievable circumstances if he wins with Powers 9th or lower. But let's see how they line up then. And it's Enrique Ruiz in pole position for his home race. He has teammate Adrian Simon alongside him in the first Mappershaw Porsche front row lockout of the season. Marcus Thunder starts from third then, and a strong display for Lucas. He's got champion-elect Powers alongside, but he's on the hard, so keep an eye. Powers will be defending early on, trying not to lose too many positions. Maximilian Thunstrom caps a great qualifying from Lucas in 5th. Klaas van Snelheid goes from 6th. A lot of work to do, 4 cars ahead of him on the same tyre compound. Klaas with a job ahead. Will Hoskins and Alar Kanga line up together on row 4 on the mediums and super softs respectively, so keep an eye on those two. Felix Perez and Danilo Farini complete the top 10, first and Franklin respectively, while Elroy Wagner starts from 11th in what will be his final Formula Virtual race. He has Nick Addison for company on row 6. Puccio Giordano lines up 13th in the lead for the Ocelot, with Thierry Zylander for Phoenix alongside on row 7. Both him and Sergio Alvarez, who lines up just behind him in 15th, leaving the team after this one. Good to be looking to give them a good result. James Vazquez goes from 16th, with Hunter Ryan lining up 17th, Yukumi Takahashi alongside him on row 9. Tumo Kinnaman starts 19th, the first of the Westwood cars. John Matson once again behind his teammate, completing the top 20. Jules Barkley goes from 21st. He's got Max Meyer in the first of the AMRs alongside him on row 11. Starting 23rd, we've got Brock Kidd. It's an all North Star row 12 because Johan Halverson lines up alongside him. And on the back row, 25th is Finn Schneider, and in 26th, making a one-off return, Rodolfo de la Fuente. So as we go down to the grid then, it's Enrique Ruiz in pole position, Adrian Simon alongside his teammate. The lights go out now and we're racing in Brazil then, and it's Enrique Ruiz with a rocket ship start. Simon's gone with him, but still some way back, and third place Thunder has immediately come under pressure from Nathaniel Powers, but Ruiz is absolutely off at the front like a scolded cat. Simon following him, Thunder through back into third, Powers holds on to fourth and ahead of Thunstrom. Van Snelheid, it's status quo in the top 6 as it's Enrique Ruiz leading as they head to Desida de Lago for the first time. Then Powers holding on as behind that's Hunter Ryan, I think, looking to go up the inside of Sergio Alvarez. A few cars wide in the background. Powers already creating a bit of a train though on those hard tyres.
Absolutely fantastic start off the line there from the two Porsche Mappershaws. Enrique Ruiz really motivated at his home circuit. As you say, Nathaniel Powers 4th place on the hard tyre. Thunder, Simon, Ruiz can get away a little bit now, but Thunstrom and Van Snelheid in particular will really need to make some moves if they can get past him.
Yeah, them and obviously Alar Kanga on the super softs. He'll be keen to make progress early doors. But Ruiz absolutely flying already on this opening lap. Him, Simon and Thunder have broken away hugely. Powers struggling massively to fire up those hard tyres here on the opening lap in Brazil.
Yeah, it's a difficult one for Powers. I think it's a very bold call, but it's also the
here we go, sorry, wow. On Powers then, Thunstrom down the inside behind him, Kanga on Klaas van Snelheid, Thunstrom's done, Nathaniel Powers, Kanga still will to will with Van Snelheid then, the two 2017 rookies going at it, and I think Klaas van Snelheid is just about held on to that position. His next target is his teammate. He needs to get this done quickly if he's to have any chance of this title, as behind them that is one of the Franklins. It's Farini who's lost a little bit of ground off the start, going back around the outside of Puccio Giordano, but if Klaas wants any chance of this title, he needs to get past his teammate and get after the front 4, who are already some 4.5 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, Van Snelheid there really needs to get the move going. I think with Powers, it's a bold strategy call, of course, but actually it's the sort of thing that we've seen it before. The hard tyre works wonders in some places. We've seen, well, Alar Kanga, one of the guys stuck behind Nathaniel Powers at the moment, it won him a race with Ina Lopez at the start of last year. So it's a strategy that's a very different thing to what we've seen usually, but well, it might well work.
Is that not a medium? But either way, here we go. On board with Van Schnelheid then. He's in the slipstream with his teammate. Surely he'll look to pull out. He won't, because Kanga's there. Kanga down the inside of Van Schnelheid then. And Alar Kanga denies Van Schnelheid the opportunity to overtake his teammate because he's demoted the Dutchman to 7th.
Wow. I think Van Schnelheid there needed to be bold, needed to make the move. But unfortunately for him, all that happened is he got himself boxed in.
Absolutely. He's not showing the kind of aggression early doors that he needs to if he's going to take this championship here today. Up front, Enrique Ruiz has got his teammate Adrian Simon now right with him. Thunder's there too then, so not escaping is the Brazilian, but they've got a comfortable gap back to 4th.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Porsche team, they've had some issues on track together over the years, but starting at 1-2, they'll have had some very clear orders. You know, hold position for now. Whoever makes it into the first corner, at least until the first pit stop, just kind of keep it clean. Speaking of keep it clean, yellow in sector 2.
Yeah, and I think Hunter Ryan has slipped to the back of the order then. So the Australian, after a brilliant race last time out, it was, wasn't it, in Mexico? Yeah, he had a fantastic result. Looked as though he might well be on for his maiden podium, but didn't quite come to it. He was a lap or two short. As Alar Kanga now up the inside of Nathaniel Powers, he's going to hang it around the second part of the centre S's, and indeed he does. Kanga goes up into 5th on those super softs. Klaas van Schnelheid still sat behind his teammate, but they're incredibly close now then, as they head down the rest of Raposta. It's actually his Powers looking to come back at Kanga. Doesn't do it though, and now Klaas van Schnelheid under pressure from Hoskins, and Hoskins has gone through. It goes from bad to worse for the Dutchman.
Oh, disaster for Van Schnelheid. Great move from Hoskins, but Powers, it looks like he's got a bit of fight left in him on those hard tyres. They seem to just be slowly but surely getting themselves into a position where he can battle the cars coming through past him. So, wow, this is not going particularly well for the Dutchman.
No, it really isn't. You can see that by yes, Kanga's pulled away, but only a second or so on this, this one lap. So those hard tyres are starting to come in now, as you say. But next up to lining up behind Nathaniel Powers then is Will Hoskins. Klaas van Schnelheid down to 8th from 6th on the grid. That is absolutely not the start he wanted.
No, Van Schnelheid needed to go completely the opposite direction at the start to the one he has done. We see Will Hoskins now trying to make the move on Powers, but yeah, this one's slipping away quite rapidly, isn't it? Yeah,
it seems to be. Hoskins pulled out really, really late there and seemed quite half-hearted. Is he going to try again? He's not. No, Hoskins settles into 7th. Van Schnelheid still sat behind in 8th place. This is, I mean, we don't want to. Right? Oh, so I thought he was going to throw a move up the side there. He needs to try something bold. Maybe not quite that bold.
No, I think there's bold and then there's ending up in the wall, retiring from the race. I think he needs to calm it down just a little bit. Oh, and we're going to see a replay of Hunter Ryan.
Oh,
wow!
He caught the curb on the inside then, and it put him up onto 2 wheels. And Ryan was really, really lucky to get away with that one and be able to continue in the race. Unfortunately, he has dropped to the back of the field. We were saying, yeah, brilliant result for Ryan last time out. He was so unfortunate not to take his maiden podium.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, fortunate not to roll, but also a little really good car control there as it came up, turned into the slide and into the roll almost, which brought him back down heavily. It was a pretty hard bump on him. I'm hoping that his back isn't affected by that. But I tell you what, we've got 3 for the lead here in Interlagos.
Absolutely. It'll probably be a bit sore after the race, but the adrenaline will carry him through at the moment. But yeah, quite right. Top 3 absolutely within, what is that, pretty much 0.6 of a second then. Ruiz, Simon and Thunder. And they're still clear though, aren't they? Thunstrom's still dropping back.
Yeah, Thunstrom doesn't quite have it there. I don't know whether he's just literally taken 2 or 3 laps worth of grip out of his tyres early on without any of the benefit, and now just can't really make the move. But I tell you what, it is nice though, after we've seen Thunstrom in the USA, Thunder in Mexico, now both businesses right up there where they belong.
Absolutely. I wonder if part of this is Thunstrom being in clear air. Ruiz, Simon and Thunder are probably sort of, or at least Simon and Thunder are getting a tow from Ruiz. That's quite powerful here in Brazil. Whereas Thunstrom's trying to push his own way through the air as on board with Van Schnelheid. Is he going to take a look into turn 1 on Will Hoskins then? He isn't, no. Van Schnelheid still stuck behind both his teammate and his teammate's compatriot.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, because you can see it all the way down the Retroposta, out of the junction corner, the final proper turn on the circuit, and going all the way up the hill towards the start-finish line. The 3 of them, Ruiz probably has about half a second on Simon and the same gap again to Thunder as they exit the corner. And then by the time they get to the first part of the center S's, suddenly it's 2-3 tenths of a second between each of them. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. They're all dragging each other along quite nicely here.
Yeah, Thunderstrom now then 6.5 seconds behind, and he has got Alar Kanga for company. And in fact, there we see it on screen. Thank you, director. Alar Kanga right up behind Maximilian Thunderstrom, and you'd imagine probably won't be long before he's blasting past on those softer compound of tyre.
Yeah, most definitely. For that super soft tyre, I'd probably expect pit stop probably around lap 13, so he's probably already halfway through the stint on the tyre. That would give him a 3 stop, as we still not quite managed to make the move.
No, he pulled out really late there, didn't he? And that was never going to come off really for Kanga, but he needs to set himself up now. Might be able to try a move into... No, I think he's too far back, isn't he?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that Kanga now needs to kind of regain his composure. I think it snapped a little bit on him at the apex when he hit the curb, and he needs to just let everything settle down, let himself focus, and go for it. Yeah,
very much so. There's Nathaniel Powers' pace seems to have not necessarily picked up, but is a little bit more on par now. He's not struggling so much now that those hard tyres seem to come in a bit. So actually, in fairness, maybe not looking terrible.
No, I think it's a contra strategy par excellence and sans pareil, to mix up my French metaphors. But yeah, that hard tyre is absolutely a viable strategy choice for Powers, I can see in this race. He's holding up quite a few people, but actually, let's not forget what he needs to do today, and that's pretty much score a point. And it's not an unsafe way of doing it. They're minimising the mistakes in the pit stops because, well, it's the hard tyre. We've seen it before. He might not even have a pit stop. And we're now almost...
Oh, there we go. Sorry, that's Hoskins around the outside of Nathaniel Powers. Powers is just holding it. That might give now, finally, his teammate Klaas van Snelheid a chance. Van Snelheid on the outside of Will Hoskins. Hoskins is going to be pinched to the apex here then. What can he do with that? Absolutely nothing. Van Snelheid does sweep round the outside, follows his teammate, and Van Snelheid goes back up into 7th then.
Yeah, great move from Van Snelheid, but needed to make it very quickly, or it was kind of now or never. But Powers is now pretty much 20% of the way into the race, and he's 13 seconds off. If taking into account the fact that the pit lane here, we've got it, that it actually exits onto the Retroposta, so after turn 3, I know that they're at racing speed for some of that, but it's a tight, twisty pit lane exit. So actually, they're minimising their loss in the pit lane, and as I say, it's just reducing risk everywhere. They're always going to have people coming through behind them, but actually it's never going to be particularly wheel-to-wheel. They're in their own race. They can just let things happen around them and be in control of their own destiny. So to be honest, it's
Klaas
a great
van
move.
Snelheid right up under the rear wing of his teammate now then, and surely he's going to pull out down towards turn 1, and indeed he does. Klaas van Snelheid down the inside of Nathaniel Powers. They go wheel-to-wheel through the centre S's, and Van Snelheid finally goes through and up into 6th position. He is ahead of his teammate then as they head on to lap 10 here in Brazil, but he is some 14.5 seconds as behind. That's Farini up the inside of Will Hoskins, and is he going to take that place? I'll tell you what, he is as well. That's not a half bad effort from Farini. Is Hoskins going to come back at him? No, he's not. Farini holds on. That's a good move. Wagner as well, attacking Hoskins, trying to demote him to 2/10th, but that's not going to happen, is it? Maybe he's trying around the outside. He's got the inside line now. No, Hoskins holds it. Yeah, Van Snelheid finally ahead of his teammate, but he's lost 10 laps of this race, and he's already nearly, well, just over 14 seconds behind the race leader. It's a hell of an ask from here.
Oh, it's a hard one. I'm not quite sure that there are the words I can use to describe how hard it's going to be for him, really. But we shall see. Stranger things have happened in Formula Virtual, and they often do.
They have indeed, as now right up under the rear wing of Nathaniel Powers is Danilo Farini. Farini's going to waste no time in executing that move then. So, well, mind you, Powers fights him, but Farini, to tell you what, no, Powers is coming back at him again then through the final part of the centre S's, and they're absolutely wheel-to-wheel down the rest of Retta Aposta. I can't get my words out. Into Desida Delago. It is Powers on the outside in position.
What a fantastic move. Don't forget these soft tyres now. Oh, wow, yeah, not half. But don't forget these soft tyres. They're probably 2/3 of the way through their stint now, so they're reaching a relatively old portion of their lifespan. So Powers, with still relatively fresh hard tyres, well, now it'll be levelling out quite nicely.
It will indeed, but we probably should championship permutations obviously covered pre-race, but essentially Powers needs to finish in the top 8 and he's champion, regardless of what happens. Alternatively, he's champion if class doesn't win the race. It's pretty much as simple as that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's pretty cut and dry as far as I can see. But one of the interesting things as we see Danilo Farini getting around eventually. One of the things you see
finally did it that time, didn't he, on Powers?
Yeah, what Powers is doing through that first.
Sorry, this might give Wagner and Hoskins a run. In fact, no, Hoskins has got boxed in. Wagner down the inside of Hoskins. Is he going to do Powers as well? I think he might on the exit here of Decido de Largo. Elroy Wagner, wheel to wheel with the champion-elect. And Wagner's gone through 2 in 1. And Hoskins has got him as well. Powers down to 10th.
What a fantastic bit of driving from Wagner again. We've seen it, all 12 laps so far. It might be his final race, but Elroy Wagner looks as game as he ever has done in a Formula Virtual car. What a move that was.
Absolutely brilliant from the German then, and we will talk Wagner obviously throughout the race, but I'll let you get back to your point.
I can't remember my point. Wagner's overtake has just blown my mind.
Fair enough. As we go on board with Adrian Simon then, still following in the wheel tracks of his teammate, but evidently the 2 Master Short Porsche cars with no real intention of scrapping and potentially throwing this one away.
It's the first time for everything.
Yeah, there very much is. But I think, Thunder's right there. They can't risk it.
It hasn't stopped them in the past, but you're absolutely right. They are both extremely professional racing drivers. I may joke about them, but there is a reason that we've got them in the car year after year. They are both absolutely top-notch racing drivers. But Marcus Thunder and Nat Lucas really not doing a bad job at all. And is Alar Kanga now catching... Oh, I know he's on the super soft tyre, actually, to be fair. So he's probably not catching as much as you would have expected now. But I'm expecting Kanga to be in any lap now, maybe one or 2 more laps at most for the 3-stop strategy. So we shall see how that goes for the Estonian.
Yeah, he's definitely not cut into that gap as we'd have expected.
No, I think it's just, the drop-off on the tyres has been huge, and I think it's just another situation where you look at where Nathaniel Powers is actually sitting, 10th place on the hard tyre. It's only going to keep coming back to him. I can't quite see what the gap will be overall to the leader. It's about 20 seconds, perhaps? So,
yeah, not too sure. We'll have to wait until the graphic switches back.
Yeah, so if you take that 20 seconds, maybe make it 25 by the time I'm expecting the 2-stop strategy to start to come into play. To be honest, I think he's at the very least towards the halfway point of the race going to be still very much in with a shout amongst the front runners, never mind just in a position for the title. So it's not the worst thing I've ever seen happen to Powers. He's going around nicely.
No, well, he has a habit of this, doesn't he? Even when it doesn't look great, he normally manages to pull something out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, Nathaniel Powers then still just inside the points at the moment, but he has got Giordano right with him. As now into the pits comes Alar Kanga then for the first stop of the race, and that is going to be a nailed-on 3-stop strategy, I believe, Rob.
It certainly is, yeah. 2 laps clear to make it a 3-stopper, but would need to go another 2 laps in this stint, and then obviously compounding that problem further for the rest of the race. So yeah, 3 stops for Kanga, and it looks like he's going to be way down the order.
4.4, not the best of stops from Lopez. 23.4 in the pit lane, but then obviously we've got this really long, snaky pit exit to take into account as well. And Alar Kanga is going to rejoin behind a mammoth train of cars and in 19th position. Yeah, he really didn't need that.
No, pretty much only in front of the 2 North Stars and then the arrow of Rodolfo de la Fuente. Other than the other super soft tired runners, it's yeah. But he's got a lot of work to do, but we've seen before Alar Kanga does like an overtake, so we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Just on that note, as you mentioned, Rodolfo de la Fuente is in this race. It's a random one-off appearance. He's been obviously Arrow's reserve driver all season. They're going to give him this because he is leaving the team at the end of the year, and that was purely just a chance for me to say Rodolfo de la Fuente's name once again because I've absolutely missed saying it.
Absolutely, he's a brilliant character to have in the paddock as well. Rodolfo, loved by pretty much everybody who knows him. Yeah, it's going to be a shame to see him leave, but I think that he's got some opportunities in Pastors New coming up. So we'll see what's in the future for Rodolfo de la Fuente, so that I can say it one more time as well.
We'll make sure we drop it in a few more times during this race. As there we see Nathaniel Powers then running in 9th. He's gained, of course he has Kanga pitted.
Absolutely,
obviously.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see that. We're going to see that as a theme. He's going to drop away from people and then suddenly end up ahead of them, and it's all going to be a case of how well he can defend from it. And to be honest, it looks like he's got a pretty good car to, at the very least, start defending from people and just hold them up that little bit, just enough that it causes.
You'd hope it's a good car. It has won the championship.
It has, and to be fair, we might not know exactly who's going to be picking up the driver's crown. It has indeed won both championships.
It has, indeed it has, yes. Obviously the title is between either Powers or Van Snelheid, so either way it's going to be a Downton driver. But yeah, it looks pretty clear, doesn't it? But we'll see how it unfolds. As you say, stranger things have happened in Formula Virtual. Lars Van Snelheid now only just over 3 seconds back from Maximilian Thunstrom. He is closing that gap down to the front runners.
Yeah, definitely, and we've seen it before as well. Once you start to get within the kind of 1 to 2 second gap on someone with the same tyre, depending on how the pit strategy goes, depending on how quick your stop is, but also how well you get out your pit box and whether you bulk someone else when you do so, that's the sort of he's just getting into the territory where he can start to jump Thunstrom. Wow, that's a huge move.
So, sorry, that totally caught me out because we just suddenly saw Ryan slingshotting around the outside of Finn Schneider and miraculously not making the move.
I'm saying he didn't make the move despite all of his. Yeah, wow, that was wild from Hunter Ryan there.
It certainly was, and these guys having just pitted because they're all on the super softs then.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it was James Vazquez that set the fastest lap a lap ago. 105
10
point
seconds
something.
of clear air in fairness, though.
Oh no, absolutely. But that super soft tyre clearly working when there's nobody in front. But it's just a question of whether Alar Kanga. Well, Alar Kanga's now up to 18th, so he's only really made one move, and that was on Jean Matten. So
yeah, he's not made much
really
progress.
working.
He got stuck behind Barkley. There we go. We've just seen it again. Then he was trying to go around the outside of Barkley there, but Barkley just sort of pushing him. I mean, as he's every right to do, defending him, just pushing him out. And Kanga's not giving himself the space to really make that. But you can see actually how close then Kanga is to Powers. You just saw there, Powers leading this train through, and Kanga's at the back of it. So that's 9th, all the way down to 18th.
Yeah, it's well.
Lock up there as well on the front left.
Yeah, it's a very unusual situation to have a Powers train, but no, it's certainly happened. I tell you what, Kanga needs to be really careful with his tyres there. That's the second lock-up in 4 corners, and he's going to start not only using up the best of the tyre in the traffic, but I think he's going to really have a detrimental effect on what he does towards the end of the stint if he keeps flat-spotting them like that.
Not only that, he'll have a detrimental effect on his teeth.
Well, there is that. I know that.
He's only a young lad, but if he's got any fillings, they'll be well shaken out by the end of this stint with those what will be square tyres, and still can't get the move done on Jules Barkley.
No, absolutely. I know that Alar has always taken good care of his teeth. He brushes them regularly when we have him over for the Porsche Young Driver events. But yeah, no, I think he's struggling a little bit here with that strategy.
I wondered where that was going for a moment.
You're not the only one.
Yes, as we see Enrique Ruiz then up front, still leading here in Brazil as his home race. And is he going to die for the pit? He is. There we go.
Indeed.
Ruiz, I thought it looked like an odd line, and indeed it is. Ruiz, Simon and Thunder from the top 3 all dive in for their first stops here in Brazil.
Well, there we go. Nailed on 2-stop strategy. He called it right, luckily. Ruiz with the first pit box, so that would be crucial. I know he was already in the lead, but both Ruiz and Simon will have the pit box ahead of Marcus Thunder, which might just hold the Lucas driver up a little bit, even if they are quicker. And indeed, actually, here we're 0.4 of a second quicker than Ruiz with the pit stop, but just couldn't take advantage of it, just with where everybody was.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw that. That was what aided Thunder last time out in Mexico. He had an early pit box, and that was what helped him into the lead. It hasn't been the case here today. Then Ruiz rejoins at the head of the field. He's got Will Hoskins in between himself and his teammate. Hoskins on those medium tyres, yet to pit. Simon rejoins in 3rd ahead of Thunder. Lars Van Snelheid also pitted. He's rejoined in 17th position behind Rodolfo de la Fuente. Well down the field and with an awful lot of work to do.
So there you go. That is what happens when Nathaniel Powers is on the hard tyre. Not only is he blocking everybody in terms of that, he is also just pitched his own teammate right the way down the order at the back of the train. Wow. But,
yeah, not starting to look like the best of decisions, was it?
No, not really. And I think for Powers, it's proving to be a masterstroke, really.
He's only 2.5 seconds off the top 3.
Exactly. Looking at the top 3, Hoskins, of course, getting in between Ruiz and Simon, and that is going to be an absolutely key.
Whoa, Simon! Jesus Christ, I sensed that going wrong.
Wow.
Adrian Simon arrived at the corner sideways.
Yeah, I'm having kittens up here in the box. I can't actually imagine what Arturo is saying on the radio to him right now.
In fact, let's put Simon under pressure.
Yes.
Marcus Thunder down the inside into Decido de Largo. No, can't do it. Takes too much curb on the inside, and Simon's able to hold it on the outside line.
Yeah, I was going to say that just before Simon decided. And he's about to do it again. Good God. But with this block, we've seen in the past couple of, in the past year really, Adrian Simon a little bit less confident in the traffic perhaps than some of the younger drivers and his teammates. So this is now the opportunity. Marcus Thunder, if he can get past and get through past Hoskins quicker, I think it's entirely possible that it will gain him that second position long term. But Hoskins doing a great job here on the aging tyre.
He certainly is. I'd almost say that Simon's teammate Ruiz is probably too overconfident in traffic. He runs into them a fair amount. But
I can't disagree with that, although a fastest lap of a 105.2 shows you what you can do in the clear air, which is quite
that's rapid. It's down the inside of Hoskins. Finally goes Adrian Simon. Hoskins will try and stick his nose back up at the second part of that corner, but it's not going to happen. And Simon is through and clear into second place. But look at the time loss. He was a handful of tenths behind his teammate when they came into the pits. He's now nearly 6 seconds back.
Wow, I know he lost a couple of tenths in the pit stop, but that is monumental loss there. And Marcus Thunder not quite able to get through at the same time. And he might, not quite able to do it there. I think he's going to have to wait until turn 1 to have his next chance as well. So it might just spread the top 3 out a little bit more than we were hoping here.
Yeah, certainly seems to be. They keep throwing us off into Ferradura, don't they? They look up the inside, and from that camera angle we get, it very much seems as though they're going to make a move, and yet none of them do.
Oh no, they're all. I'm on edge as it is at the moment. It's been a long time since I've had a couple of cars in the first 2 positions, and every move that they make, I have to close my eyes, which isn't particularly helpful for commentating on them.
It's not been that long, has it?
It's not been that long since they've been in those positions without wiping each other off.
Marcus Thunder right in the slipstream of Will Hoskins, pulls to the inside at turn 1, and Thunder, that was well executed then on his countryman, and he moves himself back up into 3rd place, demoting Hoskins to 4th. Hoskins though, actually, that's probably not. Well, I don't know. He's now going to do the same amount of stops, isn't he, as the 3 ahead of them? So I suppose it has net gained in position at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. But look where Nathaniel Powers is in relation to.
That a slow arrow?
No, I think that's just an arrow that's slow. If you'll excuse me being a bit harsh there. Yukumi Takahashi hasn't pitted yet, has he? I think he's on a...
No, of course. And Thunstrom on the fresh soft tyres driving around him just made it look really significant. Why is Perez 22nd?
Perez is 22nd because he was on when he pitted with the soft tyres. I think he got balked in the pit lane a little bit. Wow, that's a battle, isn't it? The 2 Westwood cars going at it hammer and tongs. Yeah,
for 24th position. Addison didn't have a great stop either. Addison's down in 20th.
Yeah, that's disappointing for the Australian, absolutely. Just looking at the Westwoods there, they're battling for 24th or 25th. But who does that mean behind them?
Oh, sorry, I was miles away. That means currently in last place then, unfortunately, in this race at the moment, is Rodolfo De La Fuente.
Absolutely. I think we should bring him up to the commentary booth just so we can introduce him every week.
I think that would be great. I really do. As here we see then, this is Klaas van Schnauer trying to make a move on Jean Matson, but unable to do it into Decido de Largo, and Matson holds on to that 12th place, and Klaas is just struggling, isn't it? What is 20 seconds off the lead? We're halfway through this race.
It's a really peculiar problem, isn't it, for Van Snelheid at the moment? I'd almost say that there's something wrong with the car. Like, the car we know is the fastest.
The
it's
driver.
the class on the field. Well, other than the driver, we know that Klaas van Snelheid is also a particularly capable driver. I don't know, it just doesn't quite like the traffic in the same way that some of these other cars around them do.
Your last one too was South Africa last season.
I do like the South African V-Prix, I must admit.
As here we see then
Oh,
Alar
that's a
Kanga with
move.
another move. That was late on the brakes. Wow.
Oh, what a move. That is Alar Kanga.
Superb from Kanga.
Fantastic. Oh, that was some move. I must admit, I got distracted there because as much as the Lopez is a good-looking car, every time that Phoenix ends up on the screen, I just have to take a minute. It's such a bold livery. I love it.
It is. We do have some beautiful liveries this season, and it's obviously being the last race of the year, the last race we get to admire them. But it just means that when we next turn up at the track, we're going to have a whole new set of liveries to enjoy.
Absolutely, and I'm assuming that there'll be a few teams that stick with something relatively consistent. Like I'm not expecting you to turn up with something like a white and yellow car, for instance, Bradley.
No, I mean, why would we ever do that?
You'd never announce something like that, would you?
No, we wouldn't. It would be barbaric for Downton to turn up with a white car.
Yeah, absolutely. I must admit, I am looking forward to introducing my new white livery next year, but we'll see why. Oh, was this another great move from Alar Kanga?
It's another brilliant move from Alar Kanga down the inside of Puccio Giordano. Kanga really putting the moves in, and that as well from Thunstrom around the outside of Sergio Alvarez. That was quality as well. I wish we'd seen that in full.
That was some move. That's just wow.
We really are seeing some rapid pace here today, aren't we? Just interestingly, look how not far back Powers has fallen from Hoskins. This is those hard tyres really are working. Probably looking a far better bet than the mediums at the moment.
Absolutely. Just looking, you say the fast pace. I'm looking at the lap record at the moment in our statistics, and if our lap record's correct, we're currently beating it by 5.2 seconds.
Probably is. We've been annihilating lap records all year.
That is absolutely incredible. The new chassis regulations, new car regulations we've had for 2021. I think they look good. I think they go good, and I think they sound awesome. So, it's another thing that the FBA have just done pretty spot on, isn't it? Really.
Absolutely. We're about to see another brilliant move from Kanga. We are indeed very late on the brakes against Nathaniel Powers. Admittedly, that's probably easier. They are on tyre compounds at completely opposite ends of the scale.
Yeah, it couldn't be any more different.
No, it really couldn't. In fact, we won't see tyres that far apart next season. It will be a physical impossibility. But yeah, Kanga with another very, very nice move and moves himself back up into 5th position. Unfortunately, he's going to be pitting in a handful of laps. He's going to have to do this all over again.
Yeah, but I think, you know what, I have no issue with Alar Kanga having to overtake everybody again because I enjoy it every time he does it. So
he might. I'll tell you what, if we awarded a, like that other series, if we awarded a
Speed
award,
no, that's
I can't remember what it's called, for the the driver who performed the most overtakes this season, I dare say Kanga might have achieved it in this race alone.
Yeah, most definitely. No, you're not wrong. Yukimi Takahashi here, under significant pressure from Klaas van Snelheid, but not really. Is he going to make the move?
Yeah, I think Van Snelheid's going to go down the inside here. Soft tyres against the mediums and the World Championship car against a car that's picked up 2 points this season. Van Snelheid does indeed go through into 11th position.
But all the points you've made there, I don't know, Van Snelheid's car has all the body language of, you can see, I always think that you can see how a car's being driven as an extension of the person driving it. And Klaas van Snelheid just doesn't have that certain something today. And I don't know what it is. I don't know. With his qualifying performance, I'm pretty sure that he'll have been resigned to an expectation of not winning the championship. But I don't know. There's a certain fight that we've seen from Van Snelheid over the years that just doesn't seem to be there today.
Yeah, and it's weird, isn't it? Because I think, for the last, to be fair, probably since mid-season, it's looked obvious that Powers was going to win this comfortably with several races to go. As into the pits come Hoskins, Hoskins on the mediums, Kanga on the supers as well. That's a little early.
Yeah, 29. Yes, that's one lap earlier than perhaps we were expecting, but that will still be absolutely fine to the end. So not too much of a problem.
Yes.
Interesting.
Medium tire. Oh! Released into the path of Will Hoskins, and they're side by side as they exit the pit lane. Kanga takes it then, but that was naughty from Lopez.
Oh, I don't know. A bit side by side action on the pit lane, on the pit exit there. Absolutely excellent to see, I think. But we know these drivers are the best in the world. We can trust them not to drive into each other out of a pit stop.
We literally had it in the last race.
Yeah, well.
But anyway, as I was saying, it's looked like to all the world as though Powers is going to win this comfortably. From mid-season. The fact that we've arrived at the final race with the championship still up for grabs is somewhat ridiculous. But surely, class went into this race, as we see in the background there, Giordano diving into the pits, and I think this is Maximilian Thunstrom going past Nathaniel Powers.
Certainly
it is. Asking for it, but Thunstrom does indeed go back up into fourth, so the next car behind Powers is now his teammate again. But class must have arrived here going, do you know what? The chances are I'm probably not going to do it, so let's just go all out. And it's just kind of not happened.
Yeah, as I say, there hasn't been the all-out, I don't think. It's just a strange... Yeah, I don't really know what's going on, obviously, in someone else's head. But yeah, Van Snelheid just doesn't seem... I think there might almost be an element that if he was down and out and it was in the foregone conclusion because Powers has won the championship, that might have been less bad than Van Snelheid suddenly coming back and having a chance, because then it's obviously slipped away from him a little bit more over the last couple of races. And I think that, it's just a bit of a peculiar situation that Van Snelheid's found himself in throughout the whole season, really.
I do wonder if it's taking its toll now. This is the... I mean, what is it? 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 5 seasons Van Snelheid has been a part of Formula Virtual, and I think this is the 4th time in 5 that he's rocked up at the final race with a shot of the title, as Van Snelheid now goes down the inside of his teammate, and he's not going to leave this one as long as he did first time round. Van Snelheid goes straight through this time.
Yeah, great move. And I think you're absolutely right. I think that Van Snelheid, class is very young still in the grand scheme of things, but this is his 5th year. Wow, Powers just showing his nose to his teammate there, but it's his 5th year. You can't class him as a rookie. You can't class him as being green in the sport anymore. Really, he should be at the level that he's going to perform at for years to come. And I think he is approaching that, certainly, but I think, as you say, 4 out of the last 5 years, one of those probably should have been a hit rather than a miss. But it's, well, we've seen drivers come back from worse and perform brilliantly the following year. So I think Van Snelheid still has everything to play for next year, but difficult for him.
Absolutely. I mean, to be fair, I think most people in the paddock would agree he probably should have a title now. He's been incredibly unfortunate, not least 2019 when he was some 4 laps from taking the title when he was forced into a pit stop, as now Nathaniel Powers loses another position, this time to Danilo Farini. Farini, who's had a fairly decent fight back so far in this race, having slipped from 10th on the grid with a couple of places on the opening lap. Fought his way back up to 6th now, so a good effort there from the Swiss racer.
Yeah, he's done really well. What's really impressing me, though, and this is going to sound really boring to anyone but someone who likes the minutiae of race engineering, is Nathaniel Powers lets them down the inside, rolls it around the outside, and then when he gets to the apex, just lets them go. He doesn't make it too easy for them, but he's just rolling off the throttle so that he's not losing any time doing it. So you can see that this is definitely a strategy I think he was fully on board with when it was chosen, because he's playing the right game. He's driving the car in the way that it needs to be driven to maximise the output of this. And I just think it's a really nice, mature drive here from Nathaniel Powers. And to be honest, it's the sort of drive that it's not going to grab the headlines. It's not a win to get the title, but I think it's certainly something that you can say is worthy of a champion-elect.
Absolutely. As we just saw a lovely little move there from Rodolfo De La Fuente around the outside of his teammate Yukimi Takahashi to take 18th position. Obviously on completely different tyre strategies, but...
Yeah, the question is, are Arrow dropping the wrong driver?
I mean, no.
Fair point, well made.
And in fairness, it's Penilton being dropped. It's just that... I mean, De La Fuente's been reserve all year. He's just leaving the team now. And it was just given one final outing, obviously, to sort of like at least end this chapter of his Formula Virtual career. He may well be back with some team at some point. Who knows? Yeah. But this seems to be it for now.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting because I know that he's also a big part of the Kately Racing outfit, who of course now have entered into a technical partnership with Arrow. So he might pop up there, something like that.
Well, indeed, or eVirtual is probably a likely situation. speaking of coming to the end of a career,
Yes.
we probably need to chat Elroy Wagner.
Yes, I think we have to chat Elroy Wagner. He's been a huge part of Formula Virtual since the very beginning. He is our 2015 world champion. He's won 8 wins. He's taken 8 race victories. And, well, I think he's certainly one of the I think he probably is the single biggest name that we've ever lost, really, on the Formula Virtual grid, isn't he?
I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's, he is the first Formula Virtual World Champion to retire from the series. It does mean that next year we will only have 3 champions on the grid unless a miracle happens in the next 20 laps. And it really would take a miracle at this point. But yeah, I think it's going to be a massive loss to the sport. It's I'm not going to sit here and big him up and say he's been brilliant, because I think I've probably been fairly vocal in being quite critical of Wagner over the year. I don't think he's been the absolute top draw driver that some of the other champions have been. As Klaas van Snelheid looking, tell you what, he's caught Thunstrom, hasn't he? I didn't realise it closed up that quickly, but now on the back of Maximilian Thunstrom, not getting the move done that time, but I'm sure he'll have another stab. I don't think Wagner's been top draw like the other champions. I think he's been really put in the shadow by his teammate over the last couple of years, Alar Kanga, as that's well demonstrated. Can going past. There's a retirement in the background though. That is a Franklin. That is Nick Addison then pulling over to the side of the track, and there is smoke pouring from the Honda engine, and Nick Addison is the first retirement from the final race of the season then.
Oh no, big shame for Nick Addison there. You can see the rear axle locked up completely as the engine seized with a plume of white smoke behind it. Really unlucky there for Addison. Franklin, of course, had quite difficult reliability issues throughout the year.
Absolutely. I will go back to Wagner.
Yes,
that could be very crucial in the battle for 3rd place in the Constructors' Championship.
It could well be, yes.
It's currently held by Franklin. The gap is, I'm not rapidly looking through, the gap's 7 points. As it stands, Farini's ahead of the pair of them anyway. So it doesn't really matter, and it is Franklin that hold that advantage. However, keep an eye on those 2 Lopez cars, see where they end up, because it's now 2v1. They only need to outscore Franklin by 7 points, 8 points. They'd need to be clear, because otherwise Franklin win on count back.
Yes.
So they need to outscore him by 8 points. We'll keep an eye on that. That's going to be a really close battle. But yeah, I think Wagner has been showing the way in these last couple of years by his teammate, but it's still going to be a huge loss. It's going to be weird seeing the timing screen without his name on it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that on the face of it, you're absolutely right. Elroy Wagner has been beaten fair and square by Alar Kanga, but of course Kanga is part of our development program, and one of the big reasons we made the agreement with Lopez as well in the first place, other than the fact that we wanted him to have experience with a good team, is that Elroy Wagner has been the sort of driver to teach him, to give him quite a lot of advice. And I know that over the past couple of years that they've actually worked really well together. I know that Dylan will agree that the 2 of them have worked well as a pairing and have kind of bounced ideas off each other and have improved things. So I personally think that while Elroy Wagner's retiring from Formula Virtual, I'd love to see him elsewhere. I don't know whether or not there's opportunities arising for him in virtual endurance racing, or I don't know, perhaps he's a bit old for an e-virtual debut, but I think a driver of his quality is absolutely going to find a home somewhere else if he wants it, or indeed maybe even in the management side of things. I'm sure there's a team that would love to have his experience. As you say, he's a world champion, he knows how to win, and that's the sort of attitude that can go really far in an organisation.
It certainly can. It will be interesting to see as into the pits for a second stop comes on Rico Ruiz. Adrian Simon and Marcus Thunder deciding not to follow Ruiz in this time around then. I don't think that's really going to help them, because, well, Ruiz will now have the undercut, and to be fair, he was 5 seconds up the road anyway. But, fair play to them for trying something different.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that with Ruiz and Simon having that little bit more of a gap, it's quite a good call. By the time Ruiz was leaving the pit lane, Simon would have been coming past and potentially blocking Ruiz. So the Porsche team, of course, able to control both of their cars, while Marcus Thunder had the similar issue again, where he probably would have ended up being blocked on the exit by Ruiz. So do you know what? The two of them, as you say, trying something different. I don't think it's going to do them any harm. I don't think it's going to do them particularly much good because they're going longer, lap longer on some used tyres. But, we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. That was orchestrated from Matthew Porsche, wasn't it? Just so their cars didn't collide in the pit lane.
Oh, absolutely. If I had control over my cars not colliding, we'd be in a very different world.
We certainly would be. As Van Snelheid then also makes his final stop? Yeah, it will be final stop, won't it?
Yes.
Of the race, rejoins in 11th behind the two first cars then, as now Simon and Thunder dive in. Enrique Ruiz will resume the lead. There we go. I can get me worms out. And Ruiz looking pretty solid here for a, assuming nothing terrible goes wrong.
I'd say I'm not going to say anything at this point. However, I have got
solid for a home victory.
I've got a trivia question for you based on home victories. Who was the last driver to win their home race? I'm assuming that there's an easy one I've missed somewhere. But
who's the last driver to win their home race?
Yeah. Answers on a postcard, please. I'm particularly looking at you, Alex.
Powers.
Did he win in Britain? Yes,
he did.
Okay, I tell you what then, Alex, most unusual home race victory. That would be one that would be quite interesting to hear, I reckon. Probably will be Powers, because he probably finds the only one to have done so other than Ruiz. But...
yeah, I was going to say, I know Ruiz has won in Brazil before. Past that, I genuinely, I'm not sure anyone else has won that home race.
Well, we shall see. I know that our very knowledgeable fan base, and I don't know whether Ahmed is now listening to the commentary or not, but we'll soon find out.
We will, I'm intrigued. As we go on board with Elroy Wagner, the man we were just talking about then. He has just, what are they on, lap 40, so... Is he on lap 40 though? I sense he's probably a little bit further back.
I think you might be right, yes. Also, Adrien
15
Simon
laps
has
in
won...
his career.
Oh, yes. But Adrien Simon has also won the French V-Prix. I should probably have remembered that one.
In that case, that might well be the most obscure one.
Well, yeah, I didn't remember it. Yeah, absolutely. It's all right. I'm totally not looking through stats pages rather than watching the race right now.
That's fine. We're only sat.
Rodolfo de la Fuente is in the pits.
He is, yes, as is Timo Kinnaman. Not that means an awful lot in terms of the outcome of this race, really. That was Danilo Farini though, going back past Thierry Zylander. Zylander, who has made his one and only stop on those medium tyres, just inside the top 10. It's Phoenix would have been hoping for a little bit more from this today, but not come to anything, and looks as though they are going to lose out in their battle for 7th in the Constructors' Championship with Ocelot and Ingram.
Yeah, absolutely. To be fair though, the fact that we're sitting here watching Phoenix in 10th and 11th saying that they were hoping for more, I think that's just a sign of how far they've come in the last couple of years anyway. I think that's it's something quite nice to see there. And of course, they're losing both of their drivers for next year, but I'm sure that they're going to have something up their sleeve. Possibly a very powerful choice indeed.
Well, now that sounds very intriguing. That sounds almost like you know something.
Do I?
I don't know, it sounded like it.
I in the words of Manuel, I know a nothing.
Well, yes, we shall see what Phoenix are going to do in terms of drivers. I think Will Taylor's already been announced, hasn't he? We're just waiting to see who will line up alongside him. Also, Taylor making the move across from eVirtual. In fairness, I thought Phoenix were meant to have announced their second driver by now.
Yes, I did hear that they were planning on doing so, but I'd imagine that James Thompson is lobbying for a second or 14th chance in the car.
It could well be. I was going to say there's not much chance of whoever their second driver is being lost at the factory, is it? It's not exactly a big place.
No, I think, to be honest, they just line them up and pick one.
As we see a move there, that's Will Hoskins and Nathaniel Powers going wheel to wheel. Powers tries to hold it, and well, actually, yeah, that's going to be from that position. Then neither of these guys are going to pit again.
No,
So
absolutely.
that was Powers desperately trying to hold on. Hoskins is through though. Powers is going to try and come back at him, but he's not going to do it. And Hoskins has gone through into 5th place. Do you know what? Earlier on, I didn't think this was going to work out particularly well for Hoskins, but 5th place, that's not looking too shabby.
Yeah, he's done a great job indeed, really. Looking at the top 10, the only driver at the moment that we expect to pit again in a routine stop will be Alar Kanga. Other than that, we've got Vasquez, Ryan, Max Meyer, and Finn Schneider. on the super softs. Although Felix Perez is having a very long stop there. Just as I say that, what's going on with him? Do we think?
Oh yeah, I don't know, but you spot on. That's 11.5 seconds.
Front wing.
Stationary then for Felix Perez. It's over 30 minutes. 30 minutes?
30 minutes.
Half a minute. In the 30 minutes, you might as well not even bother.
Absolutely. Alar in the pits now.
For Perez.
And Alar is in as well, making sure that he proves me right one more time for this 2021 season.
Indeed, it's down the inside of Nathaniel Powers goes Klaas van Snelheid, and that is likely going to be the last bit of racing you'll see between Van Snelheid and Powers as teammates at Downton.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's no matter who wins the title, I think that has to be the story of 2022 as we start. So pre-season, where it all shakes out, whoever goes where, I think it's going to be an absolutely fascinating dynamic. Matteo Zatici, of course, coming in, highly rated talent. I think he's probably, if not the most highly rated youngster to come out of the junior series. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do.
It could well be, and obviously we had the announcement post-Mexico that the driver leaving Downton to not make way for Zatici. That's the wrong thing to say, because we heard in the announcement why it's Powers who is stepping away from Downton. But that it did confirm that it was Nathaniel Powers who would be leaving. We don't know yet where he will be going, but a huge story, and that will be where the focus of the attention and the media is after this race, as you say, regardless of where the title goes. It's going to be, where will Powers line up in 2022?
Yeah, who will be carrying, at the moment, based on what we're seeing, the number 1 and number 2 for next year?
It will be. Who will be carrying the number 1 and number 2? Klaas van Snelheid is over 20 seconds off the lead of the race, and there's 10 laps to go.
I am never going to say anything has happened until we see the checkered flag fall. I've seen it often enough over the years in motorsport that everything's down and out. Everything is impossible. In fact, in another championship here, this very corner, we've seen it happen.
We have, but have a sense of realism. He's only 3.5 seconds ahead of Powers anyway. Even if by some miracle Klaas did end up in the lead, his teammate's not going to be 9th or lower.
Well, okay. I'm not going to say anything.
There's
that's a move.
Mind you, down the inside of Powers does go Maximilian Thunstrom. So Thunstrom does push Powers back to 7th then. He's got Danilo Farini right with him as well, so it's likely he'll slip another place before long. That's still only going to be 8th as Alar Kanga smashes in another fastest lap. Kanga will probably come at Powers as well then. So Powers, I think he's probably going to be 9th at best here.
So he needs to be 9th or lower. Van Snelheid, 4 more spots, and he's the champion.
Yes, unfortunately, he is still behind Will Hoskins and then has 17 seconds to make up to even get to 3rd place.
Will Hoskins has had the most unlucky season I've seen in a driver in a long time. Ruiz and Simon may well end up driving the same car by the end of the race, and Marcus Thunder might do anything. So I am not counting this one out just yet.
Has Hoskins been unlucky, or has he just been a bit naff?
I don't know. No, he hasn't had the strongest of seasons, and of course he's now heading to the team that Danilo Farini is hassling Nathaniel Powers for, I believe.
He is indeed, and I think this is surely going to be a move into turn 1. Farini dives down the inside. Powers is smart enough to let him go. He knows he doesn't have to fight this, and Farini moves up into 7th place. And that is looking, we said we'd cover it, that's looking good for Franklin at the moment in terms of the constructors, because they're outscoring the team that are behind them.
Very good indeed. I think that'll be a net gain of 4 points.
Also, just before you dive into things, looking good for Lucas as well over first. Two cars scoring compared to 1, and they're ahead already. I think Lucas should hold 5th.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be Franklin in P3 and Lucas in P5. So, I think that I don't know. I don't know what we would... Who would you say will be the happiest with the season compared to where they were expecting to be? And who would you say are going to be the most disappointed compared to where they were supposed to end up in their minds?
I think first will probably be very disappointed.
Yep.
I don't think 6th is what they expected from this season whatsoever.
No, I think you're right.
I think Lucas will probably be fairly pleased, as that's that is Klaas van Snelheid down the inside and getting past Will Hoskins. Hoskins going to try and come back at him though, but will put himself on the outside line. Mind you, he might have the better position there as they head down to Decido de Lago then. Hoskins does indeed creep ahead, and Hoskins takes it back. Back into 4th place goes the Brit.
Yeah, we're seeing it quite often now. The Ford motor absolutely pulls like a train, and it was clear as they went into the braking zone. That Ford engine pushes that car along really nicely.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, towards the front, Enrique Ruiz is up with some back markers.
Oh, well, we've seen this a few times before. Enrique Ruiz, of course, will dispatch them really quickly and carry on driving, but we'll see.
Or drive into them.
Well, I wasn't going to say that either.
Well, I was trying to add a little bit of...
All joking apart, he has lost half a second in one corner being behind the back markers. We've seen it before. Back markers can play their role. Adrian Simon might well yet have a go at least being at the back of Enrique Ruiz. And I'm pretty sure Adrian Simon would be in that position very happy to try and make the move, to try and get himself a win for the first time in 2 years now.
Absolutely would, is there. Klaas van Snelheid finally does get through past Will Hoskins and holds this one better. And it's now allowing Maximilian Thunstrom an attempt at moving past Hoskins as well. Indeed he does. Thunstrom moves up into 5th. It's been a really, really strong end to the season for Maximilian Thunstrom, if you ignore the fact that he qualified on the back row last time out in Mexico. Thunstrom has had an incredibly up and down year. He'll be looking to correct that next season.
Yeah, not only that, obviously, he won the race and then failed to qualify for the virtual 24 hours as well. But I have heard that they're probably going to be able to compete after another withdrawal, but I'll get onto that another time.
I have heard, says the organiser.
Yes, I have heard. But, yeah.
As there we see Ruiz has finally managed to put a lap on Hunter Ryan. He's extended that gap back out to Adrian Simon as well. So Simon obviously now struggling with the traffic. Here, this is Zylander on. Powers has already slipped to 9th. He's now got Zylander with him. Powers might slip yet further. Thierry Zylander down the inside. These two came together during pre-season, not testing, but training. Zylander went on a training camp with Powers, ruled them both out of testing, ruled Zylander out of race 1, and now Thierry Zylander has pushed Powers down to 10th.
Yeah, Powers in 10th. Van Snelheid only three positions to go, but also 28 seconds, as you have rightly pointed out, away. But yeah, Powers just doing enough, but really at this point it doesn't feel like enough. It feels like I'm just a little bit on edge for the rest of the Downton team. I know I can't imagine that I think that you're pretty keen to know what's happened already, but I think we're gonna see what happens over these last 3 laps. Stick with it. As
you say, anything can happen in Formula Virtual. If after the next 4 laps it's not Nathaniel Powers that is the champion, these next 4 laps are going to be fucking incredible.
They're going to be devastating if you're a Malachor Porsche fan, but also incredible, yes. I totally agree.
Yeah,
absolutely.
As there we see Alar Kanga. Kanga now through past Hoskins as well. Kanga up into 6th position. I tell you what, this has turned around, hasn't it? Kanga now scoring 8 points. Farini
4.
Scoring 4. So as it stands, it's not quite enough then for Lopez.
No, not quite.
What do they need? So 7 behind. They need to outscore by 8. With Farini 8 and scoring 4 points, Kanga would need to be 4.
Yes, so that's another 4 points. So it's 2 points up per position at the moment where Kanga is, and indeed 2 points down. But he's 3 seconds away from it, and on a super soft tyre.
He is indeed, and that 3 seconds is now 2.5. And Kanga rapidly closing in on Thunstrom and Van Snelheid ahead. I dare say this will be a matter of how quickly he can dispatch Maximilian Thunstrom. But having said that, Thunstrom's right with Van Snelheid.
Yeah, but
having lost that position earlier in the race, he's not giving it up, is he?
Absolutely speechless. Just the thing about Hunter Ryan here, on the back of Enrique Ruiz having been lapped, and also, is this going to be key as well? Danilo Farini and Will Hoskins fighting each other. That will put Farini down to 2 points in this race, won't it? No. He's fighting to go Hoskins up. Apologies, I looked at it earlier.
Inside, that's going to surely allow Hoskins to hold the position. Indeed it does. Farini still in 8th then and scoring 4 points.
That's an interesting dynamic though. You're driving for the team next season. What do? Do you let them through this season? or do you keep going for your best result for your team?
Oh, well, quite. It's a conundrum indeed for Kanga. Up front.
Oh my God!
Unlapping himself from Enrico Ruiz. We've seen this before at this corner. Not in this series, but we've seen it. Hunter Ryan doesn't quite do it. And Ruiz, where has this pace come from Hunter Ryan?
That's what I said. Ruiz got through. He lapped him, and Hunter Ryan has just latched onto his gearbox. And I think he's just
look at Simon. Simon's with it.
Yeah.
Simon's only a second back now from Enrico Ruiz, who's 3 seconds in a lap or two.
I said it might happen, but I didn't actually think it would. It's less than a second now. Danilo Farini now through on Will Hoss. Yeah, they're fighting off screen.
Wagner on Powers. Nathaniel Powers has slipped out of the points.
Wow. And that's another point for Lopez. Crucially, that's 1.
Yeah, 94. Powers trying to come back on the inside at Decido Delago. Then he doesn't want to end this season without scoring a point, does he? But it looks as though that might be the case. He slipped to 11. Wagner is 3. He's now got Alvarez with him as well. Behind Ruiz, Simon is being boxed in by back markers.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be a case of traffic giveth and traffic taketh away for Adrian Simon here. Ruiz now on his final lap and 2.5 seconds up the road.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, given Ryan was right up with Enrico Ruiz, somehow he's lost out to Finn Schneider now, as we've got a yellow flag in the middle sector. Oh,
42, Zylander.
Thierry Zylander
by the look of it.
The apex.
And retires.
And yep, that is Zylander out of this race. But that puts Powers back in the point.
Kanga through on Thunstrom.
Oh, yes. Kanga up to 10th. Up to 10th. Kanga up to 5th, sorry.
10 points, plays 11. Farini
the outside line.
But Farini's through on Hoskins too, so that's 6 points there. It's still only a 5-point swing. Farini might have well have just got his team the 3rd spot in the championship there.
It's not even that now. It's a 4-point swing. Wagner's 9. 2 points there and 2 points for Kanga. Enrico Ruiz out of Decido Delago for the final time then. The last race of 2021, and it's Enrico Ruiz who wins it then. Ruiz wins the Brazilian V-Prix, his home race. Adrian Simon 2nd, Marcus Thunder completes the podium, but with Ruiz crossing the line in 1st, we have a champion, finally, in 2021. It's not going to be this man we see on screen, Klaas van Snelheid. It was an impressive fight, to be fair, to even take it to the final race. Klaas van Snelheid crosses the line in 4th. Maximilian Thunstrom 5th, just holds on from Alar Kanga. But the wait now is for Powers. It's going to be Farini, Hoskins and Wagner to complete the top 9. But here comes Powers across the line. Nathaniel Powers is a 5-time Formula Virtual World Champion.
Absolutely
unbelievable.
incredible.
All season then, it's, as we said, somewhat ridiculous that we got to the final race. But of 9 seasons of Formula Virtual, Nathaniel Powers has now come out on top in over half of them.
No, fantastic result. Deserve a champion for the year. And as we said, it should have happened many, many races ago, but an unbelievable amount of misfortune. But he's now done it, and he is now the world champion for the 5th time. Absolutely brilliant. Looking at that battle for 3rd, it looks like Farini has secured it by 3 points for Franklin.
Indeed. Lucas secure 5th in the Constructors then. As Ruiz, I mean, that was a great win from Enrico Ruiz, but we've got to talk about this man.
Oh,
he will add a 5th star to his helmet for 2022, but what colour car will that helmet be in? That's the big story now. The 5-time champion Nathaniel Powers drives his last lap in a Downton as he heads back to the pits. And where will we go from here? Enrico Ruiz is back. He's the race winner as Nathaniel Powers joins him, and the pair of them will start the celebrations and the podium. Here come the drivers out onto the podium then. In 3rd place for the Johnny Walker Lucas V-Prix team, his 2nd podium appearance of the season, it's Marcus Thunder. In 2nd place for Coca-Cola Porsche team Mattershore, with his 5th appearance on the podium of the year, Adrian Simon. And onto the top step then, also for Coca-Cola Porsche team Mattershore, his 3rd win in 5 races and his 4th of the season, Enrico Ruiz. And in his honour, the Brazilian National Anthem. So there we have it then. Enrique Ruiz wins his home race for the second time. Adrian Simon backs him up in second for a Mattershore Porsche 1-2. Marcus Thunder completing the podium. Klaas van Snelheid could only recover to fourth then ahead of Maximilian Thunstrom, while Alar Kanga put in a brilliant drive for sixth on those super soft tyres. Further down, Elroy Wagner scores points on his final outing in Formula Virtual. Nathaniel Powers with 10th place then secures that 5th World Championship. On his way to 6th place, Alar Kanga also took fastest lap, while unfortunately for Thierry Zylander and Nick Addison, they were the two retirees from this last race of the season. As we said in the Drivers' Championship, that means Powers ends the season on top for the 5th time in his career. That's 5 titles in 9 seasons. Powers now has over a 50% strike rate. Klaas van Snelheid second with just 11 points back. Enrique Ruiz only ended up 18 points behind then, as championship really closing up at the end. Maximilian Thunstrom and Adrian Simon gaining ground in the final race there. Thunstrom finishing 8th overall, really good result for the rookie Swede Rodolfo De La Fuente, also putting his name on the board. In the Constructors' Championship, well, there were no changes, so we knew down to the champions. We knew Matthew was second, Franklin secure third ahead of Lopez, and Lucas secure fifth ahead of first. Ocelot end up 7th from Ingram and Phoenix. And that squares away those battles. But that's all from our race here today in Brazil, and indeed our 2021 season. My thanks go to Nick for, as ever, doing a phenomenal job in running this series, and to Rob and Lily for joining me in the commentary box and in the pit lane all season. It's been unbelievable, and I for one cannot wait to get started again next season in 2022. But that just leaves one thing for me to say today. From both me and Rob, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time for the first round of 2022 from Fuji, Japan.